Welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. We had a lovely episode yesterday on the equinox. Yes, equinox energies and some of the other ascension energies. And I believe that our lunar eclipse was a full moon, not a new moon. And with that being said, I was going to share some more of the channeled guidance and food for thought that was coming through, but I decided that I'm going to pause that one and bring it to you some other day, maybe next week. But I have it all written out. So for those who are waiting, just stay tuned. And what I'll probably also do is share it as pictures in our community on YouTube and Instagram. And so just keep an eye out. And for those who are new, welcome. So 5D right here, Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness, avatar consciousness, the love frequency. It's for the securely attached and non-traumatized. Why non-traumatized? Because you can metabolize emotions, thoughts, and that's physically. And so you know how to or want to regulate in your ventral vagal state. This is the biggest difference between that, which is the 5D, and what I am going to call 3D, 4D community. Not good, not bad. Our fear frequency, brothers and sisters, maintain the fear, we maintain the love, and we consistently will expand as we get to interact with each other. Love, life, oversoul stories. So right here, what I can tell you is there's no tragedy between the twin flames, soulmates, the oversoul, when you have an empowered feminine. And that's where I am an empowered feminine. I have my own masculine, but as the oversoul, my energetic imprint. So when you hear people talking to you about divine feminine, divine masculine, I have a very different story for you, because the divine anything, one, we don't need that adjective or that word per se, because anybody who's trying to use it, I understand what they're doing. And even I have read quotes from our lovely Sadhguru, when you overflow in humanity, divinity descends. Okay, so it's pure consciousness, meaning an integrated brain person. I get to bring to you science. I'm the pseudoscience lady though, but I'm bringing the human sciences. So attachment trauma, psychology, sociology, philosophy, all that human stuff. Be yourself with spiritual, my own spiritual story and spirituality. And I get a bunch of spirituality stuff from Sadhguru, but my foundation to everything faith related is God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. So it's a very straightforward equation. As discerning equanimous love. That's what God is, because that's exactly how I was also raised and how I feel inside. And so when you are a securely attached, again, non-traumatized person, you're using that which is a prefrontal cortex. Mindfully living, loving people do this all the time, and they have fun, not tragedy. When you hear tragedy, that's our fear frequency brothers and sisters who are navigating what is, in fact, our short spelled it out, what is basically in need of Terry Real and Patrick Tiahan, two awesome therapists. So when you have people who come in and out, they are emotionally unavailable people. They live drama and suffering. One of the reasons why Stephen Porges didn't write his book with his wife on what true love is, which is a person who is in their oxytocin gene hormone. So true, not because others don't have their subjective idea of truth, no. True meaning with data from sciences. Okay, so if you want the narratives of drama land, then you got all these unrequited people who think of love as suffering. They also live hypervigilance the entirety and rest of their life, because they are used to it, because those first 3 years of life matter. The ones who don't want to believe in healing their childhood, again, we can't make them. So disempowered emotional people is what I call those who don't understand empowering their own emotional plane, because they don't want it. When narratives and external drives are what motivate you, it's because you don't own your own mental, emotional, and physical plane, meaning your embodied brain. You don't own two sides. You own nothing except for the left mode, and I've met a bountiful of them. And so we don't need teenage narratives, which are the superhero, supervillain. We don't need to be motivated to chase or run or any of that, which is basically a movie, okay? How to live freely in a goal-oriented, driven world. Anytime I'm hearing some very smart individuals, I can always hear where they're grabbing information in a way to present to somebody something that they will be desiring. And then as a person who is independent, and so a differentiated self, that means you own all your child parts, okay? So they're all asleep. None of them are orphaned, okay? This means you're using, again, prefrontal. There's a physiological way that you are when you're in a state of compassion. My insula lights up because my head and my body are somatically aligned and in harmony. My default mode network is downregulated because I'm not scanning myself. That's why I'm empowered. And you, I'm not looking for thumbs up and the thumbs down. Okay, so love is very straightforward because that's I self-love me first of all, and I don't lie. I know that if you plugged my nose, I would get the fuck away from you and I wouldn't let you. Selfishness in the sense of survival, but in the sense of no person who knows commitment and love is still with their faith in humanity broken. If your faith in humanity is broken, if you don't trust in humanity, if you don't trust that we can move into tomorrow, human evolution, consciousness, okay, so to me, truth and trust mean that you understand that there's unknowns, unexpecteds, unwanteds. From the love angle, it's with curiosity. It's not with fear. The only time our bodies are in their sympathetic, for me, panic attacks or when I'm having some disorientated stuff physically. So motivation, we're all motivated differently. That's why the personality patterns and the attachment, that's categories with Dr. Daniel Siegel, as I got to learn from him. People who tend to have some areas where they're not expanding, it's because of if they want, they can learn to get more flexible when it comes to the personality patterns and that which motivates them. Okay, so with that being said, love is stability and commitment. Otherwise, it's not. In and out people and behavior. As I got older, I got to see it, but it's because I'm attachment trauma informed now that I can tell you, yeah, I didn't have questions of what secure attachment meant because it's easy when you get taught it by the primary caregiver who makes sure you understand love means that I will not be weighed down by you and you will not weigh. So we are supporting. Nobody's weighed down by anything and we're there for each other in important pivotal moments, always, not just sometimes, but we're imperfect so we can make mistakes, but for those important things. And then what? Well, we're going to be there for all important things, but again, not perfection. So consistently building together and sharing that which is of the essence, and staying healthy. So when you get taught what love is, it's easy. People who don't like easy, well, again, they don't really want to stick around. They don't really want to build. And so that's the part of where I find it not hard to believe that we still have gender stereotypes, because we have a rabbi who talked about men being hard to commit. And he's talking about the masculines, and then he's talking about the feminine being the one who suffers starting something new. But he is using the word man and woman. While as a mystic, what I can tell you is not all masculines are men, energetic imprint, not all feminines are women. Meantime, let's put that discourse aside. I'm an empowered feminine, divine feminine of my oversoul. I know my masculines and I know twin flames and soulmates. And so, number one, your oversoul is going to support you if you're a mystic or a spiritual person to expand, to become, and to embody pure love. Because that's why you would be of spirit and in the mystic arena. Otherwise, you're going to be on the other end, which means that you're not needing to embody that which is unconditional love in and of itself. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in functional child adults. Again, you're cool with people calling you whatever fuck they want because you don't react. You're able to be in your ventral vagal state, the mindfully living, loving stuff. Okay, so if on the other hand you come and you say, I don't want to embody love, so I'm going to say you're going to embody the other spectrum. And what was funny is this woman I came across who's saying that that embodiment is truth. Okay, so when I think of, yes, an empowered masculine, the truth is they know what commitment means. And how to build. You build 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 every day. You build something. And like an empowered feminine, you know there's imperfections. So the point of the stories are that no one will be at a loss. If somebody is doing a ziggy-zaggy, you don't know what you want in life. You're not building shit. You're not reliable. I don't need to be a man or a woman. I'm going to be able to handle that in a very emotionally mature way because I'm emotionally available. That's the self-regulation of a securely attached, non-traumatized human being who's leading with their higher self. And so mystic, spiritual, and mindful, you're not destabilized. And when decentralizing of the self comes around, you're also not destabilized because you're grounded in the body of a person who has bilateral integration, vertical overall, owning the sense of self. Okay, so being your true self is this. And it doesn't matter how many clears you have, how many astral travel, it doesn't matter how many I've had a bazillion, not a bazillion, no, but between my own past lives, future lives, Akashic record reader, it's not in any way, shape, or form overwhelming because of the capacity to stay in the ventral vagal state. And I don't see enough mystics in this. I see them very much in the stories, and that's where I think of flat earthers. So when you hear a story and you hear of a group and you hear of one group being better than another group, or you hear of tests, that's the moment of the I need to be motivated in an effort to find a reason to keep moving forward and waking up in the morning. That's called your human secondary consciousness. And so, yeah, I know that when I wake up in the morning, I'm alive, thank goodness, and I might die. Basically, I won't know when. Okay, and so once more, thoughts, like Lisa says, because the body may keep the score, but she says the mind keeps the count. Your thoughts are what will, by the time you're grown up, because by the age of 2, thoughts begin to come. The narrative is what takes the first step in your ears, although it's being conducted by sensations, but you won't know those first 3 years of life. Okay, so when a person knows who they are, then they can walk a walk and talk a talk. So they will know that love is stability and it is commitment. That truth is of the mind of a person who can know of that which they want, but they can also know of that which they feel. And they don't put it to the side, but they instead bring it forward. So when you have securely attached, non-traumatized, mystics, spiritual, mindful men, women, theys, you're going to have that which is true love. Other than that, you're going to have a bunch of stories. The masculines and the feminines that I have seen that are distorted, that are not empowered, they fall for these types of, I'm going to call them gender stereotypes, number one, but also the capacity for them to, within the relationship, societal, soul age group, to continue learning of their self. So this is that other equation. We are not all going to embody the consistent frequency of love. Why? Because some people are choosing not to. Because if you say, I don't want to do personal development self-help, Maria, after you've done EMDR, child parts work, and somatics, you're telling me that you're tired already of trying to create resiliency when life strikes with unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds. Because that's the minute of truth. You're going to use your prefrontal, and in neutrality, you look at duality. So I will say, okay, I got given, let's put the twin flame thing into the mix. I know who they are, know what okay, the part about when I gave some advice to people who seemed completely out of sorts with their twin flame, and I'm like, okay, you're a mystic. This is incomprehensible right now. You are not the one who is supposed to be what this is, what's going on. Oh, it's because you have more experience, was the way the person interacted. And this is not the answer. It's you just don't know how to handle what is going on. And in this case, if you have an oversoul, a twin flame, soulmate, whatever it is, I can tell you, if you're grounded in reality and if you're stable with your sense of self, you don't have a question of what you're perceiving. Because you know your own nervous system, and you'll know what's yours, and you'll know instinctively that it's not yours. And even if it's a little bit confusing, because you begin to maybe ask questions, you still don't get destabilized because you know how you're conducting yourself. So if you're conducting yourself with love, that means consistently showing up in a calm-centered, that's the equanimous, good judgment, discerning. Why good? Because I know what healthy is. I don't need characterological distinctions. I'm not doing the let me judge you because I'm not God. This is the other part when people want to play that they can tell you everything because they're intuitive. No, that's disrespectful. And also when you learn from Dr. Daniel Fox and Dr. Daniel Siegel and a lot more, people who assume, yeah, they're all the adaptive child part people who keep talking over others. So whenever I hear anybody wanting to assume, you're assuming. You didn't ask me. You didn't talk to me. I personally don't really tend to use too much of my time. Once I'm in a room, at this point, I'm just so used to facades that I will explain myself. By the third time, I'm now curious about whatever it is you're going to say. I'm not going to explain Maria because you just chimed in ways that you're not really into finding out what I'm about. The open communication is by two people who want it. And that's actually going to happen because your amygdala will want it. The other part that's beautiful about being attachment trauma informed is that you will know love, one, when you love yourself first, and therefore can be in the presence of another, even if they don't love you back the same way. It's not unrequited. This is an active accepting that they will have a different type of love for you, because also love, by the way, for me is a consistent, it's the bond that I'm creating. So if I'm building with you, we're actively are securely attached figure. That means I'm a safe haven, secure base for you. So we share all of our successes. We share every single thing, happy moments, sad moments, important moments, not moments, and building blocks. So you're building. If on the other hand, you're coming in and out, you're here one day, you're out the next, you're not a person who's building anything with me. That's called a potential secure base, because you're not going to be a safe haven. You can't be a safe haven. What's a safe haven? It means that if I'm having some shit go down that's emotionally part of my life and you come in and out, you're not stable. I won't be able to be supported emotionally, but I don't need to make you out to be a bad human being for it, or a bad whatever. Okay, so love, life, oversoul. It's easy for a person who is grounded in their true self, in their higher self, to know of our oversoul and to expand it, versus what you hear the teenagers out there telling you, that you lose people. When they lose people, it's because teenagers come together like mean girls and they want a group and they want to basically cheer each other on or not. It's very not funny. I find it ridiculous, but then again, I'm not living pseudo aliveness. I live aliveness. And so those who live pseudo aliveness, those who live hypervigilance, those who have not gone to Patrick Tian and don't want to heal their childhood trauma, they know that. They feel alive when they are in the same traumatizing situations that they experience. This is how Bessel van der Kolk has explained it, and so many more. And when somebody's just using their mouth, I will notice that, because they will not yet be embodying the state of restorative embodiment, is the state of bliss. So the Enlightenment Soul Age group is not for everyone, because not everybody will choose to want to move into their resiliency with restorative embodiment, because they're too busy, again, in other arenas of life. At least that's what it looks like. I've been ascending since 2007 with Claire's and Oversoul and all of this, and those who have had twin flames. The difference is that they're still doing the same shit they were doing when this whole story began. And the first, some of them thought I was a whack job. To this day, some people think I'm traumatized because of the whole story and because of what they hear out there, but also because I'm an emotionally mature person. So they think I'm pretending, or that somehow, I hide, or I don't know. This is the part of where some people will tell you to your face, some people will talk about it behind your back, but in either or all cases, what I can tell you is the smart therapists, like Dr. Daniel Siegel, inform us of the difference between eustress and distress, and I can totally tell you that I know the difference, because I do remember when I was in the frequency that was lower, even though it's so far back now, but when I was venting and I stopped venting, I decided I don't want to vent. It's not productive, it's all yucky, and I really... there's some things that even as I am playing them out in my head, I'm like, this is not love. This is not my frequency. This is not what I am here to want to continue to embody. It's not a story. It's an active expansion of the self. So that's why the therapists, they will all say we all change. I don't feel changed, because I'm a whole self with that whole self, a higher self, a verb, as Dr. Daniel Siegel says. So I consistently expand consciousness, which is what makes me happy to say science and spirituality, they come together, and spiritual. So you being yourself with the inner growth mindset, with mindfulness practices, with mindset skills, is because you are a true self, not a pause self that needs to learn to love themselves first. And the thing is, Patrick Tian, he's a childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing, I always say, and he's a therapist, and he still is working to undo the unkindness that he was subject to. But he can tell, but he doesn't talk about it necessarily with the person, but he can tell when his modalities from his home come up, because he's aware not only of the psychoeducation, but he's done the work and he's continuing to do it. That's why Robert Sapolsky with Determined says we have no free will, but we do have free will to choose how we conduct ourselves with each other. So for me, kindness has consistently been what I chose because of God, because of Jesus, because of the Holy Spirit in my catechism, and then because I was also raised with a mom and a twin. And in the consistency of what love means is we have differences, not good, not bad. We stick together, we support each other in the tough times, always, not just sometimes, and in the special moments. And if you can't make it, it really has to be something you can't make it. Otherwise, you better explain why, because we're counting on each other. So it's not, I'm going to hold it against you if you skip out, but it is, we hold each other accountable, because that's what a herd does. Like Manny, Diego, and Sid. When Diego comes back, Ice Age. And Manny is pissed off because Diego actually was gonna, eat them to the wolves, or whatever that saying is. And Sid's like, no, but we're family. Because Sid understands rejection, though. He understands being left all by himself because he's an annoying whatever. But that's what a herd does. So humanly speaking, what is the most amazing of journeys for me to share with you is that there's plenty of healthy self-worth men, women, and days out there, mystics, spiritual and mindful. And the oversoul, the way the 4D tells it to you, it's disrespectful. Makes people not love each other, number one, but it's like Mean Girls and that other movie, Hangover, whatever. So it's like stupid, idiot movies. And when I see stereotypes, it's the same thing. Men are real men, like women are real women, like days are real days, when they can be emotionally, mentally, and physically mature, not come in and out, and actually take ownership and accountability of their trauma, and not project it and not carry it on to the future. So if you want to talk about families, partnerships, about true love, it isn't unrequited, it isn't suffering, it isn't bullshit drama. No, that's for the unhealthy people that at this point don't want Terry or Patrick Tihan. They may talk to you about performing. That love is not a performance. I'm not a circus act. Love is, this is who you got. And it's, I might look pretty today, I might look ugly tomorrow. This isn't really negotiable. And you know what is beautiful about the amygdala. So this is Dr. Daniel Siegel explaining to me about the amygdala and how the brain works, and also our 14-month-old and a lot more. And this is why I bring in Robert Sapolsky every now and then, the determined thing. But you will be alerted to that which is of interest to you. You will also be alerted of that which needs your help, for the average amygdala, because then there's some that have an amygdala that works a little bit different, and there's a spectrum, okay? But long story short, as mammals, we are inclined consistently to be supportive of each other. Obviously, if your first years of life, though, you were in a dangerous home, then humans are not safe for you. So when you see people who don't have safety with humanity and they don't believe in love, it is because they didn't begin life with safety, with a human. I have a twin as that which I began, so humans are always safe. And when it comes to love, it's always safe, but it's always going to be a leap of faith. Why? Well, because people can decide. No, they can change their mind. Things can happen, but that's not something you say, okay, now I won't ever love again. Or, okay, so I have to say love is, suffering. That's so childish. It sounds like a teenager. The only time I thought it was normal to be immature. Now that I'm a grown 45-year-old woman and seeing men and women, and I don't know days, but the desperation is what I think when I hear stereotypes, when I hear people still talking about them. And the academics, well, they can do a better job at coming together with trauma and attachment information, so they can also disengage from talking about what is, to me, not a polyamory, monoamory debate, not a vows that need to be made in church or out of church, or integrity, or between men and women. No, it's, are you securely attached and non-traumatized? Do you know how to metabolize your emotions? Because we got a Zen master who doesn't know. Do you know what motivates you? How do you use your brain? Do you use two sides or one side of it? How do you embody your true self, or do you not? So when people take seriously knowing that part of them, and if they're a higher self or not, then maybe they will finally, at some point, shape, or form, mystic, spiritual, or mindful, learn that love is easy, because you're not a circus act. It's not hard. And if I'm a cockroach, my mother loves me, though. So, for me, it's really straightforward. Also, she taught me that love is easy, and that it's consistently showing up, and not just sometimes. And no, nobody weighs anybody down. It's not a sacrifice. It's because you want And that's why the amygdala, as I said, it will be automatic. You will want more, not less. You will consistently want to share more. That's a safe haven, secure base, which is where, when I say there's only one type of person that you will grow completely intimate with in a specific way. It doesn't mean it has to be one, but it's a two-way street. It's never one way. So the level of depth that you share life with somebody depends on if two want exactly the same. And then mathematics are mathematics. There's 24 hours. So depth is depth. And superficial is superficial, which is why it's not really confusing or destabilizing. In and out means you ain't here. It just means you come and go whenever you want, which means you're not really taking anything seriously, because to build in life means that you need to show up again and again and again. Not because it's hard work, although some will use the word hard. I'm going to say it's called perseverance. I'm going to say nobody knows that there's no shortcuts in life. Anyone? I mean, I learned it when I was a kid. And that life is a joyride consistently. So the ones who know about being motivated from within, it's because they will have consistently woken up with the secondary human consciousness to love life. In my case, I got lucky. Got a twin, got a mom. She taught me how easy it is to love and be different, and that it's okay. Then I got God, who's like, don't be any different, and Jesus forgive, and Holy Spirit, and don't cast stones, and I gave you life. It's a miracle. It's a sin for you not to want it. So, when you're very literal, you're like, okay, I'll make sure every 24 hours. But really, actually, what I should say is Marcus Aurelius. He's the one who helped me. Because I would wake up from sleep and I'd be like, I don't want to forget my loved ones. And as I'm reading philosophy books, I read his passage, which is, why would you worry about something that you can't do anything about? How about you use that time to do something, to build something? Your thoughts, they come with emotions. The emotions come first, but the thoughts are what speak, as Lisa says, which is why it's working with the thoughts. And also then noticing the emotions, sifting, sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, mindset skills, mindfulness practices. That's why you can love. And as for life, you feel alive when you're in your ventral vagal state. Once you notice the ventral vagal state, and you disengage from being in sympathetic dorsal vagal, you will notice a difference. However, if you don't take the psych education seriously, that's why people don't understand, it takes their effort. It takes you wanting to get out of maladaptive patterns of behavior and spotting them and saying, okay, here's my alternatives and here's my wiggle room. Because obviously, like Dr. Daniel Fox says, you're going to fall back on those patterns. That's fair and square. I have patterns too. We all do. That's why our loved ones, we say, okay, health, habits, let's keep each other, moderation. But the maladaptive, which would be those that are drinking, drugging, fucking, eating, comfort, whatever, you spotting what you do that isn't healthy and then choosing alternatives is the best way. So that's why it's a choice. Some people don't want to live that, which is their 5D frequency is how I'm going to put it, because restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating is that. The ventral vagal state is that. Some people, they're going to keep feeling alive in that which was their past, and they don't want to hear what the therapists have to say, and they don't want to do mindfulness, and they don't want to do mindset, and they don't want to be in ease and equanimity and discernment. They want to be the self-righteous, the however other words, and they're sympathetic. So they feel alive like that. It's their choice. And effectively, I mean, the reality is you don't make somebody learn to navigate their nervous system if they don't want to. And if that's their pattern and their habit, to me, explaining and sharing, and then people saying, I don't believe in neuroscience. That sounds like pseudoscience. Yeah, I am pseudoscience lady, but it isn't bullshit. But at the end of the day, at least, you talk. The talking is what we want to do, and not the weaponizing of words, which is instead what I see teenagers doing when they don't like each other. They start using, gaslighting, manipulating, you're a narcissist, you're this, you're that. That's not healthy boundaries, and that's not even a conversation. The way that you are able to interact with someone when it's ventral vagal state, they won't like it necessarily, but it doesn't matter. So like the immunity isn't enough to be saluted, I consistently communicated, I don't want to be your friend to this person. One way, shape, or form. In fact, I mean, I still laugh because you're really desperate if you didn't figure that out. No, He just had a very rough evening and decided that he was going to do this shit. That's all. But when I look at it from a attachment trauma educational perspective, there's hope. Yeah. If he goes to Terry Real, Patrick Tian, he'll learn healthy self-worth. Whatever fuck's gone on in his life, he could get over it. In the meantime, I don't need to do anything. He wasn't rude to me. He wasn't anything. He's a human being who's just as flawed as anybody else. Why? Because take me, God, as I am. I'm flawed and imperfect, and I don't play God. This is the one thing that those who are using words in certain ways make me realize why, for this 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving person, the foundation, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, has maintained the presence of me. I don't play God. And the intelligence and Akash and Source is bigger than any one of those who will then instead, as mystics say, thanks to me, you can tap into this. Thanks to me, you can tap. You tap into Source if you are of spirit mysticism, because you'll be having a relationship with it. Then we have our other group who doesn't tap into anything of it like that. Talking about the masculine, the way that I've seen the ones who give you a story, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, because the reality is the true masculine one is empowered and doing shit already, and they're not testing any kind of feminine. The ones who test each other are the same teenagers who are playing cat and mouse, Pinocchio, have fun on your island, and bow down to your master when you see him, because you need a story so that you can feel that you're doing something of fabulous. But then again, like I said, relationship and societal soul age group, I keep forgetting. So with 8 billion people, they're not all going to be establishing the whole self. And so in this instance, that's how I explain to myself why we got still, a bunch of different stereotypes going on and a bunch of different stories, and also the motivated. So we are all motivated differently. I do forget that. So I'm a differentiated self. I'm a child who's a grown-up, because there's no child part of mine that doesn't get tended to by me. You're your own safe haven, secure base when you can regulate your nervous system. You can talk about what you want, not want. You're authentic. You're not playing pretend. So it doesn't matter what you are of my oversoul. I'm a straight shooter. You're a straight shooter. Great. There you go. It's easy. And that's how straightforward it is. You don't take things personally if they don't like you. Sure, cry, anger, all of it. This is all part of it. There's no tragedy. We don't create tragedy. There's not, oh my God, give me gold for my stars. Oh my God, please, please let me be no more. The part about when people think God's testing, that makes me very sad, because I always think, wow, you feel tested. You're still using what is, in fact, though, it's the codependent, the blamers and the martyr superiors. They will have this low frequency, and it makes me think of their 0-1-year-old, which I understand wants a hug, but they are not using that moment to have a dialogue with their prefrontal and saying, okay, life sends unknowns, unwanteds, unexpecteds. Life will send me at times something I don't want, more than just at times. And I can stay open-hearted with it, and I can go with the flow. That's why the flow state of the brain, it's amazing. The neuroscientist who said it's not supernatural, I know all about the flow state. And it's selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, richness. This video I watched. And as they're describing what happens in effortlessness, it reminds me of the number of years with the panic attacks. Because once you're in no self and there's no time, your body, where the fuck's Maria? And that's why effortlessness will then be a little bit of this, what the fuck's going on? And then you move into richness. And so for me, consistently expanding, thanks to my oversoul, thanks to not losing myself, though, decentralizing of the self, didn't have any kind of flipping a switch. But also I think of integration of the brain, because Dr. Daniel Siegel explains how integration of the brain works. So as you own your core self, narrative, relational, your solo self, and you consistently are owning sensations, images, affects, behaviors, meanings again. So when you have a window of tolerance and welcome, and you're consistently using prefrontal, not making up some narrative, but simply having what is a dialogue as things take place, you move forward and expand, which is why it's not shadow work, light work, hero work, not hero work, none of that. And it's not, I'm going to consistently have ups and downs, which is instead where those who I have met from 2007, they're still doing the same stuff that they were doing when we first started to hang out. And that's their life. But they don't want to become functional inner child adults. They're good with their fight response. So fight response is what leads most people when you see them, well, not most, but definitely the 3D 4D collective, and those who won't navigate their restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, functional child adult life. And they don't know that love is easy, and they like to have love being hard, and they like to think of dramatic stories, and then they continue to watch shitty ass movies and stuff like that. But the point is, healthy grown-ups like me are here to tell healthy other grown-ups, let the children know that life and love are straightforward. Things happen, shit happens. When you find actual people who care, they know commitment, stability, and they don't fuck it up, and they don't manipulate, and they don't use any tactics, because anyone who's using tactics needs a therapist. They're not evil, Knievel, medieval in a narrative. No, they need a therapist, because they either have a pathology, they have trauma, they have hypervigilance, they have some shit going down. We don't need a story. And that's the part of what we want to see, or I know I want to share more of. We don't need a story for when people don't know what love is. They don't know what it is because they didn't get it to begin with. And that's why it's not about men or women. It's about, are you securely attached, non-traumatized? Can you handle maturely your mental, emotion, physical planes and use two sides of your brain? Or are you going to do, excuse me, you confuse and find spirituality? Oh, and that's actually very funny. But my point is, when people can notice that we all have subjective experiences, and then, like I said, that we treat each other the way we will want to be treated. I began this as a teenager, didn't realize how many people would grow up to continue with stories from drama land from teenage years to then me being attachment trauma informed and letting you know nothing's changed from my life except for being attachment trauma informed helps me know every single step of the way when I was dealing with my oversoul, all of it, actually what their choice point was. And what I can tell you is, you will have so many choice points before you will have decided to armor yourself shut in, like my facade friend, that teenage version of you, which is a pause self, which is going to sound like a quack, 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 quack to me, and I'm going to sound like a quack, quack, quack to you. Difference is my body is in eustress, the other person's body is not. It's in distress with suppressed emotions, suppressed child parts. Their trauma charges are not being metabolized, and they have maladaptive patterns, and then they're going to reminisce, and they're going to get desperate and do a lot of other shit, which isn't really going to change much because the movies talk to you all about it. So that's why 3D, 4D. We can thank our brothers and sisters with the low frequency of fear, because that's how human evolution and consciousness consistently expands anyways. So from mystic to spirit to just person, what I'm saying is we have 8 billion people. Not all want to get healed. Not all want to become the best version of themselves because they don't believe in it. They believe the best version of themselves is in their little hissy fit. And that's why that fancy lady and man in suit, they're just as beautiful as can be, as are the others who allow themselves to be there for the ones who want that. And then the ones who instead want actual eustress will do that. And I do think sometimes if we were all at ease, would that really be something? Well, I mean, I know I would want it, but this is where utopia, right? So utopistic, I can use that word. And I can definitely say that it is utopistic to think that every person out of 8 billion people can be in their restorative embodiment. And do you know why? And that's because of a lot of things. I'll just use relationship and societal soul age groups. They're not in the enlightenment soul age group. And that's because that's one side note, but also realistically 8 billion people, different countries, different economical systems, right? So even as we move forward, there are new dynamics that are going to unfold. But as a political science major and somebody who does value discernment with my academics, the smart ones, not the ones who are doing bullshit. They're needed for other stuff. They're needed for other shit. The ones who are discerning, who have panels of discussions and all that, which I'm not involved in always, but there's this one guy, I love him, and his conversations on the political science front and social sciences front. So when I'm listening to my colleagues, although I'm not in there anymore, I know where we're headed, and I know that, yeah, utopistically speaking, we won't all be the same nervous system, because we have too many different types of dimensions, or whatever the word is, that right now are not seeming where they could be. And it's too soon anyways to talk about it, but I think you get my drift. And if you don't, it's okay, because it's not even part of what I was talking about with today's episodes. The oversoul stories is that you will be able, thanks to your oversoul, to get to be the life you want to be, the love you want to be. And if you're a committed, stable person, that's because you know healthy self-worth in the first place. And so that 5D collective frequency, you're into it, you're good with this, and our, again, brothers and sisters. And the 4D, 3D frequency, we don't need to do anything about, because we vote, we have the laws, we have the systems, and we keep moving forward. And let's just share with the younger generation, hey, so here's what love is, and it's you accepting who you are, you know, being a member of society, you knowing how to learn things, you know, being respectful, and continuing to help children to grow up to become decent and emotionally available, mentally available people. And that's how we're going to keep moving forward, as always. And that's exactly why some will say secure attachment, it's boring. No, it's not. It's actually not boring, because inside it's really gooey and fun. And also because 24 hours, that's all we got. So in 24 hours, let's spend it with the people who want to make memories with us. And that's why it's not hard. Your oversoul and your love and your life is really easy. When you have healthy self-worth, you continue to build every one of those secure connections. And then when you have secure attachment figures, you'll know, because they will want you in their life in the same way that you do. And that's really nice. And those are conversations, by the way. You don't just make it up in your brain and your head. Oh, and as I was saying, actual masculines, actual feminines know what commitment. The truth is that you can't build shit if you don't know how to be a consistent builder of anything. It can be thoughts, but if you are ziggy zaggy, and I mean, honestly, I've consistently built since as a kid, and I'm still building, you know, and I can only imagine when I see people who have taken a little bit longer, they get really upset. I say, but you know, our adolescent brain is really until the age of 25. So there is technically an explanation. I was a straight shooter. I already knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, because that's how particular I am. But the reality is, it's only by the age of 25 where your executive decision-making function areas are finally stable, and now you can think long-term. And for the man's brain, it's 28. So, you know, this is where people don't like the sciences that explains the different ways the brains are made. It's not a limitation. Like I said, I was already a teen knowing where I was headed. But some people, they don't have it all clear. And at the same time, even though I was a straight shooter, I still molded what I moved into. Is why people say, you changed your mind. No, I didn't. My 8-year-old said, I want to help people. I said lawyer. Then I said, political science. And I said, international relations, diplomacy. Then I said, marketing. And then I said, marketing and content creation. Personal development, self-help. And there you go. So pivoting is something that just happened organically. And to me, it didn't change, because I was consistently moving every step of the way with the feeling. So as an empowered feminine, we are feeling based. And when I say feeling, there's no words. My left mode doesn't need to be active. It's the gut. And the gut is saying yes with the heart that's saying yes. And so this is where I can only begin to tell you that I thank all of the masculines out there, because I've always known as an empowered feminine that I got the easy end of the stick, because my heart stayed open. Thank you, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, Mother, Twin, because again, those are the foundations. My younger sister too, but the point is the foundation of those first 3 years of life. And what was brought to my ears was God, Jesus, Holy Spirit for my faith. So to me, that's a consistent frequency that has always stayed, which is why I don't suffer life. Jesus suffered for my sins. He's the bridge. He's the one who was able to do what I got taught. And again, that's where when I heard that, whatever his name is, talking about what Buddhism is, and that it is the number one truth for them, that life is suffering, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not what we get taught. That's not what life is. Life is something very different for those of us who incorporate into our life. You got 2 hands, 2 feet. And again, discerning equanimous love is what God is, and what I got taught, and how I got to keep moving forward. And so commitment is not hard. Stability, integrity, vows, not hard. It's a very straight and expanding. This way is called the self whole, like a verb. Thank you, Dr. Dana Siegel. These are not those provable things. These are different ways that I can conceptualize and give you topics that you can explore on your own, but being yourself. Very easy for those who are authentic and transparent with their own thoughts, emotions, their self, their childhood, all of it in a human way. plus the mystic plus the spiritual, you add, that's bonus. The ones who don't want any of it, again, they have a lot of different ways that they talk to you about things, and we'll be back with more in the meantime. Thanks for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. Have a great one.